All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a problem that traps even the most successful leaders out there, the constant, grinding need to personally police your own team. We're going to show you how to architect a culture of accountability that's built on a real system, not just on your own constant effort.
So, let's start with a really crucial truth. You can have the most beautiful mission statement framed in the lobby, but your real culture, that's defined by what happens day to day. The unspoken rules, the behaviors that are tolerated when you're not looking. It's the standard that actually lives and breathes in the hallways.
So let me ask you this. Your firm might be pulling in massive revenue, which is great, but if keeping your standards high requires your constant personal intervention, if it's all your manual labor, then that revenue has just built you a very expensive golden cage. You're chained to the business because you know that without you, the whole culture just crumbles. Does that sound at all familiar?
Okay, the real heart of this problem, it's all about unwritten rules. When the standards for how to act, how to communicate, and how to treat clients only exist inside your head, there's no objective truth for the team to rally around. And you know what happens in that kind of vacuum, right? Performance and behavior, they inevitably drift downward, settling at the lowest common denominator. Now, this whole reliance on unwritten rules isn't just a little frustrating, it's a huge hidden tax on your business's potential. We call this the fragility tax. So let's break down the two critical liabilities this tax is placing on your entire operation right now.
First off, when you are the sole enforcer of the culture, you become a classic single point of failure. I mean, think about it. If you get sick, if you dare to go on vacation, or you're just swamped with a big deal, the entire cultural enforcement engine just shuts down. The whole system is totally dependent on your personal energy and your presence.
And that leads directly to this fragility tax. This is that burnout-inducing cost of your own manual labor. It's all the time and energy you spend correcting little mistakes, playing referee in disagreements, and constantly reminding people of standards that were never even written down. It's absolutely exhausting, and it's a huge drag on your ability to do the high-value work you should be focused on.
This slide really shows the two paths, the transformation you need to make. You have to shift from the chaos of being the firm's referee, making one subjective call after another, to becoming the architect of a system that's built on predictability, where the team holds each other accountable to a written standard. Now that is the foundation of a business that can actually last.
So how do you make this critical shift? What's the answer? Well, it lies in creating an operating system, not for your computers, but for the humans in your firm. Let's dig into the solution. The team constitution.
Just think of the team constitution as the source code for your culture. It's a simple, usually one-page, institutional declaration that explicitly states how your team communicates, how you handle failure, and how you treat clients. It is the official rulebook that governs behavior. No more guesswork.
And this is the magic of it right here. By codifying the rules, you eliminate all that guesswork and you create clear behavioral service level agreements. This is what empowers your team to enforce the standard themselves, which gets you out of being the bottleneck and lets you actually maximize the return on all the talent you've hired.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually build one? So let's get practical. We're going to walk through a really simple three-step process to architect your very own team constitution. We're going to operationalize your culture in three clear stages. We'll start big picture, with the vision. Then we'll get really specific with non-negotiable behaviors. And finally, we'll document the practical rules of how you all interact. The whole point is to make sure your standards can outlive your daily involvement.
Now, this slide is key because it shows you exactly how to make abstract values totally concrete. So, take a core value like extreme ownership. Okay, what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it translates into a non-negotiable, like data is king, which means decisions are based on facts, not feelings. And how do you enforce that? With a rule of engagement, like mandatory weekly leadership meetings where that data is reviewed by everyone. See that clear line from the big value all the way down to a specific action? The output of this whole exercise is way more than just a document. It's a tangible business asset. In this system, we call it an artifact. This one artifact directly removes the cultural drift constraint, which turns your culture from a liability that needs your constant attention into a scalable, enforceable asset.
But look, creating the document is just the first step. To really bring it to life, you've got to activate it. That means defining everything, documenting it, and sharing it with the entire organization. And from there, you have to integrate it into your most critical processes. Use it in hiring to filter for the right cultural fit, and use it in your feedback loops to reinforce the standards you've now set in stone.
All right, to wrap this all up, let's put on the captain's hat for a minute. This means looking at your firm with a firm, high expectation lens. Because institutional platforms, they do not tolerate ambiguity. So I want you to look at your culture and ask yourself these 3 high-stakes questions. First up, the absence test. If you were completely off the grid for a month, no emails, no calls, would your team autonomously hold each other to the highest standards based on a written constitution, or would things immediately start to fall apart without your manual labor? Be honest with yourself.
Next, the autonomy check. Have you actually given your team the tools, the written rules, to solve problems and conflicts on their own? Or are you secretly kind of hoarding the role of chief mediator because it makes you feel essential, even though it's a massive bottleneck for the entire company?
And finally, asset validation. Is your culture a true asset that makes the business more valuable, or is your impressive revenue just subsidizing a chaotic, fragile environment that is completely and utterly dependent on you to function?
So here's the bottom line. A truly valuable business, a real platform, cannot tolerate behavioral ambiguity. It demands clarity. It is time to stop being the referee and start being the architect. Draft the Constitution, enforce the standard, and protect the platform that you are working so damn hard to build.